All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are with Bob Dvorak here. Moments ago, the Kuhns Market Black and Gold Sunday Show, every Sunday, 11 until 1. And Bobby and I, along with Greg Diolis and Bruce Tanner, are going to be on the air opening day, April 2nd, Federal Street, right along that great stretch of concrete that is PNC Park, talking all about opening day for the Pirates, which will be that day against Minnesota. But the season begins for real this Thursday. Detroit, Comerica Park, Ivan Nova will get the start. Is he the ace of the staff?
In name, sure. Is he an ace?
Time will tell.
Listen, if they don't win it all this year, something's wrong.
Bright spots of you baseball fans out there, like me, are thinking baseball. There are some players to be hopeful for, and I think one of them is Josh Bell, who's really going to be looked upon to duplicate the 26 homers from last year and hopefully add a few more. But they're really going to be looking at him not just for this year, but the future.
Yeah, I think he is the face of a rebuilding franchise. He's young. He's got enough power to generate some excitement. So, yeah, they'll be looking at him now that McCutcheon's gone and some of the other people. So, you know, it's on him to be kind of like the draw for the fans.
We talked about a lot of things on the program today. So before we get to the big story, college basketball, Penn's right now taking on Philadelphia, and it's being seen on the NBC network. One of the things Coach Sullivan's been talking about, their lack of penalty killing, that's got to get better.
Penalty kill has to get better. Their defense has to be much better. Going into the playoffs, we know that they can score. They've got the firepower. But the defensive play has been suspect of late, and you got to make sure that Matt Murray is the Matt Murray who won the last two cups.
All right, now, as far as the Steelers, the draft up and coming, one of the things that we were talking about in the waning minutes of today's program, the future of Le'Veon Bell. Does he stay with the Steelers, or do they maybe make a move and maybe go after a running back in the draft?
What we know for sure, since they gave him the franchise tag, it's going to be a replay of last year where he doesn't attend the OTAs in May, won't be at training camp, and he'll show up in September and say, well, here I am. We saw that play out last year, and frankly, I'm a little tired of that story. Maybe they do make a deal, and they have the option of doing a deal. Just because they offered him the franchise tag doesn't mean they have to pay that $14 million.
All right, Michigan 58, Florida State 54. Wolverines return to the Final Four for the first time in 5 years. Charles Matthews led the way with 17 points. Michigan has now won 13 straight games. This year's Michigan squad has the school record for the most wins in a single season with 32. Cinderella story continues. Loyola Chicago over Kansas State, 78-62. For the first time since 63, the Ramblers are in the Final Four. Ben Richardson scored a career-high 23 points for the Ramblers. Loyola becomes the fourth 11 seed in history to reach the Final Four, joining LSU, 1986, George Mason in 2006, and VCU in 2011. No team lower than an 11 seed has reached the Final Four. Loyola had the lead for the final 36-31 minutes. So big winners yesterday, Michigan, Loyola, Chicago.
And, of course, you mentioned the Cinderella story. Cinderella is a 98-year-old nun who wears her hat backwards and sits at courtside as the Loyola chaplain. So, I think it's one of those stories that people are going to follow through the Final Four.
All right, today, 2:20 CBS Kdka TV2. You've got Kansas Duke, only region to reach the top two seeds in its final. This is the third straight year the Jayhawks have reached the Elite Eight, but they have failed to make the Final Four in the previous 2 years. Coach K looking for his incredible 13th Final Four appearance, which would break John Wooden's record of 12. What do you think?
Well, yeah, in this bracket, in today's games, you're seeing the real powerhouses of college basketball. Duke, Villanova, and you don't fall asleep on Kansas or Texas Tech. So two really good games today. They'll finish out the Final Four, and then wake me up when the championship game comes.
Villanova, Texas Tech, Red Raiders' first Elite Eight appearance, which means a win would give them their first Final Four. Villanova is looking to reach the Final Four for the second time in 3 years. Jay Wright done an incredible job. The Big 12 has the only team to reach the Final Four in the last 5 years. This year could see two of them in there, meaning Texas Tech and Kansas. So exciting coming up that game, but you still have to think. Right now the favorite, in my opinion, even with the great Duke team there, Villanova, because they average about 87 points a game, so you know they're going to put the points on the board. Can your defense last with this high-flying offense?
Who am I to argue with such a font of wisdom and acumen. So
that means I have a lot of folks.
I like. There's no guarantee Villanova gets past today. So but you gotta love their team and what they've done and how consistent they are. And I think everybody's brackets now depend on Duke Villanova because everything else has been turned topsy-turvy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I highly recommend. I have been at Kuhns Market working every day for the last week, so I'm just going to stop in and get some soup and head home today. But don't forget, for everything to enjoy great basketball, if you've got friends and family coming over and getting ready for Passover and Easter, it's Kuhns Markets. How do you find the one nearest you? They've got 9 locations, KuhnsMarket.com. And I have to mention you, the great writer in this mission, military. You just recently returned from Texas. Please tell the audience what is up and coming from Bob Dvorak.
You mean from the world of sports to the real world?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing a new book. It's on the 50th anniversary of the 3rd Brigade of the 82nd Airborne being deployed to Vietnam to blunt the Tet Offensive. And one of the soldiers who served in the Golden Brigade, as it's known, during its 22 months was Sergeant Felix Conde Falcone from Temple, Texas, Rogers, Texas, was killed in action in Vietnam, posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. So I met with his son and his daughter down in Texas and how this bond of brotherhood exists between the people who were in Vietnam and how they take care of this soldier and his family today by honoring him and his service.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Kuhns Market Black and Gold Sunday show every week, 11 until 1 on Kdka Radio.
Oh, and for you baseball fans, they've renamed the section at PNC Park from all you can eat to all you can stomach.
Send your cards and letters to this guy because I'm saying,
I'm a kidder.
Let's go, Bucks.
Here we go.
Let's go, Bucks. Yeah. Tomorrow night, Rob Pratte, Monday night. I know you'll be tuned in.
Oh, yeah.
We begin at 7 o'clock from right here in the Allegheny Health Network studios with Medical Frontiers. And then throughout the night, it is open conversation. Plus, I'll be joined by the head of the polling center, Franklin and Marshall University, of course, in that great community of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the amazing talent of Dr. Terry Madonna right here on KDKA Radio. Good afternoon.
You've been a beautiful audience.
Yes, you have. Thanks, Bob.